All right, let's talk about the uncomfortable truth that no one wants to talk about.
Do millennials deserve the worst parenting title?
Millennial parents were ruining our children. And I'm going to tell you why. Because my children now are adults, and I can see a little bit of the error in the way. Some of you new age millennial parents are the worst parents I've ever seen in my entire life.
Ask millennials, why are your kids so awful? I'm going to say something a bit out of left field, but hear me out on this one, okay? I blame gender parenting.
TikTok recently asking how we think millennial parents are going to screw up their kids. Because let's be serious, every generation of parents screws up their kids, but in very different and very specific ways. And I think with millennials, it's going to be social media.
So if you're a parent and you got children from the age of 16 up until the age of like 35, stop scrolling right now. I'm going to give y'all a second. All right. Parents of millennials, you failed your children terribly. Y'all literally didn't teach your children shit.
And here's the twist. We actually think as millennials that we're killing it as parents.
What if we're raising kids all the wrong ways and we don't even realize it?
So there's a cultural narrative out there saying that millennial parents are too soft for our own good, we're glued to our phones, we're raising fragile kids. But before we dive further into this video, we'll do a quick introduction.
We didn't grow up in perfect homes. And now as parents, we're questioning everything we're taught so that we don't pass the same wounds to our kids. I'm your host, Tom, and this is my co-host, Mallory. This is the Raw Opinion Podcast, growing as parents through real and deep conversations in order to raise healthier children.
All right, so who are we? Who are millennials, Tom?
Well, the millennials were born between the ages of 1981 to 1996. So this is the age between 29-year-old to 44-year-old. So for example, my coworker is also millennial. And I remember this one time I was trying to talk to him about Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball Z, and he had no interest or idea what the heck I was talking about. And this is the gap of differences in millennials as well.
Yeah,
So
which is crazy because it's a big gap.
it's very different. I think if you're born in the early 80s as a millennial, you grew up very differently than when we were born in the 90s.
Right.
You still had that like Gen X culture going on where you drink from hose tabs or like you come home whenever.
Right.
So, but we can get into that. And so our parents, who are our parents?
So we were raised by the Gen X and potentially baby boomers. So we're not going to talk about them in too much detail in this video. We're mainly going to stick to the millennials. So let's dive into, again, who are the millennials as a whole range first. This is an overgeneralization of millennials, but let's just start off with some of the basics. Obviously, we're Google experts. We are overly sensitive because we didn't have emotional regulation. We are mentally unstable, and we're the therapy generation, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we're overeducated, underpaid. We like to spend a lot.
More than we have.
More than we have, I would say most of us. We are heavily into the consumerism market, and we are social media parents.
Yes. We are also very entitled, and we want things now. We do not have the patience to wait. We want immediate satisfaction.
And also, lastly, we are just way too anxious as a generation. Most of the other generations don't understand that.
With the millennial generation is that we were sold a formula for success that did not work. So when I was growing up, they all said, go to college, get a degree, go to graduate school, you'll be special. And then with this thing behind you, don't worry about student debt, by the way, with all this stuff behind you.
I like millennials. If I did have to pick on millennials, I think our biggest issue is we're too self-aware. We know exactly what's wrong with us and why, and I don't know if that's healthy. Because everyone at my age knows exactly what's wrong with them, but no one seems to be getting any better. Like every person I meet my age, they're like, I have anxiety. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing about that? Nothing, I'm telling you, so you work around it.
Does the millennial generation have a midlife crisis? This New York Times article really gets into it, and it is so interesting.
Yes, we are definitely overstimulated, as people would say.
Yes. And, it makes sense, right? We grew up with video games. We grew up with Nintendo 64.
Foreshadowing for our kids because they're even more stimulated than what we were.
Yeah. Anyways, that's a whole other topic we can get into next time.
And another huge one is we are considered massive pushovers, especially as parents. But millennials aren't all bad. Let's focus on some of the good things, Tom. What were great things about millennials as a whole?
Oh my gosh. Do you ever remember you had to rewind the cassette tapes if you were to listen to them from the beginning again? That was us. That was our generation.
And I don't fully remember the cassettes. I do remember VHSs though, and rewinding VHSs. The floppy disks,
Oh my
the
goodness.
CDs with the Discman that you had to
Yeah.
like pack on your side.
We also grew up with iconic cartoons.
Yes.
My memorable was, of course, Dragon Ball Z, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon,
Right.
which you guys should thank us because we got that for you.
We also had iconic cartoons like Recess or the Rugrats. Those are great. And obviously, of course, the Disney movies. That was one of my childhood memories.
And what was internet like
Oh my
in the
gosh.
90s?
The dial-up internet.
So what is that? Like, what is it dial-up? Like, what
Who
does that
doesn't know
mean?
dial-up? It's literally, it's like, and it like makes that like really loud noise when
And
you
then
like
you
connect
can,
it.
and then you can search on stuff.
Yes.
Like
so you could be off the
Yahoo.
internet or you have to like dial it up and then you have the internet where you could, yes, do searches.
And also another huge thing were mixtapes and burnt CDs. That
Oh,
was definitely
yes.
our generation thing. And that was a form of love back in the day. You know, you make someone a mixtape, and this was my form of love to you.
Oh, yes. If you are a millennial and you remember any of these iconic things, please let us know and tell us your favorites down in the comments. All right, time to get down to the meat and potatoes. Why are we considered the worst parents of all generations?
All right, let's answer the question. Do we deserve the worst parenting label? Yes or no?
All right, so if we just have to give a brief yes or no answer, I would have to say yes.
Okay. I would have to go with no on that one, and we'll get into it.
Okay, so I believe yes, Tom believes no, and that's just a generic yes or no response. So let's dive into it. Why are we considered, as a whole, why are we considered the worst parents in people's eyes?
I think the biggest thing that, especially generations like Gen X or the baby boomers, their number one complaint about us is that we are just soft little marshmallows, and we're raising soft little marshmallow kids.
Right. And there's obviously lots of talk about how we are very much involved with screen time with our kids. We're massive pushovers, as we had mentioned earlier. We have no consequences for our kids. We let them run amok,
Yes.
as a Gen Xer
Run
would
amok,
say, run
yes.
amok.
Gentle parenting, permissive parenting is a big parenting styles in our generation.
Yeah, we're spoiling our kids. There's
Yes.
no such thing as consequences, and we are huge helicopter parents as well. We overanalyze everything.
Yeah. So is that it?
We'll stop there, okay?
Yeah, we'll stop there. Let's dive into that now.
Okay, so yeah, those are just some basic assumptions of our parents believing of millennials.
Right. Okay.
So there's
So-
probably a ton more, but we're going to stop there.
I'm on the opposite. I think that most millennials are doing the right thing. I think we are so traumatized by our parents and by their generation that we have decided we want to nothing to do with that, and we're going to create our own parenting styles and basically do the opposite of what they did. And what I mean by that is that during our parents' generation, it was like the highest divorce rates, in all of history. They were emotionally unavailable for us. And just those two main points right there has completely shifted the way that we parent our kids.
When I feel like I was a good mom and did everything I can to show my kids I loved them and be there for them. And why does this generation of kids just turn their back on their parents? Like, I would never treat my parents the way some of the things have been said to me from my kids. And I don't understand it. And it's everywhere.
Right. Okay, and those are all valid, and I do agree with you. However, my stance is we are definitely overcompensating. When we have been shown something we don't want to happen for our kids, we completely 180 that and go way too far. And I think that's the problem right now is we are going too far without any guidance. So I think our kids are going to end up being somewhat damaged because we are trying to do something that's on the far end of the spectrum. It's kind of like politics, Like if you're not in the middle, then you're going to go extreme one way, extreme the other. And I feel like that's the same thing here is that we are going too far the other way, which is why a lot of our parents see us as very soft parents. And we also took the way of gentle parenting, that phrase, we took it too far as well, as usual.
Right. And I agree with what you said, but I also think that our generation, we are most likely going to be closer with our kids than our parents is going to be close to us. And I think, and again, that's where the critics come in, right? They say we are friends with our kids, but no, it should be parents first. But I do believe that we are building a relationship with our kids, and I think that is just awesome.
Yes, and I do agree with that because our parents' generation, like they see parents first not even being friends, right? That was never an option. And our parents don't understand that we are trying to build this emotional connection, right? So they see it as, well, you're letting them get away with everything. Well, no, they're way too young to understand anything right now. So you want me to do a timeout for somebody that has no recollection of what they're doing wrong. And that's the disconnect between us and our parents, right? They don't understand those things and they instill fear and think that that's the best option for raising an obedient child is just, well, if you want them to listen, you got to be strict and you got to be super stern and you have to have disciplinary actions. Our actions are natural consequences, and that will stand more with the child versus instilling fear in them.
I feel like our parents criticize us for raising soft kids. I'll give you an example. So even this morning, I dropped the kids to my mom's, and little lady was not really behaving all that well at the dinner table. She was a little cranky, this and that, as kids would do. And, my mom told me, it's like, man, like you are just so soft. And, I try to stay cool, try to stay collected and didn't want to get too angry. But in my head, it's one of those things that what would you want me to do? Because she was getting frustrated and she was, trying to tell little lady to sit down, blah, 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 and this and that. And in my head, it's like, yeah, sure. I was trying to stay cool. But, at the same time, it's how do we explain to our parents that she's not even close to two yet? Just because she fuss, just because she has all these emotions, it does not mean that we get to yell at them to behave. Us millennials growing as parents, we want to guide our kids through all these emotions of being a kid and that it's okay to be a kid. It's okay to have all these emotions and not us yelling at them to shut down these emotions and just to have no emotion availability.
And our parents would not understand that because they were not raised like that. And B, they just have no idea of the development of a child. Let's be real. They just don't. We have way more. And again, this is one of my issues with millennials is we have too much information. And so we're constantly, is this right? Is this right? Is this right? Because you can look up one study and it'll show one thing. You could look up another study and it'll support the other side. So we're constantly under stress, I would say. We're under so much pressure as millennials. And again, I'm not faulting us for being so confused as parents. So again, when we ask the question, are we the worst parents ever? I say it hesitantly as a yes, because it's not really our fault,
Hey guys, like and comment if you want us to make another video on prediction on what the next generation will be like. For example, Gen Alpha, and how they're going to turn out and what they will be like as parents. I would agree with you, there is a lot of information out there. And I think there's a saying, right? Analysis paralysis. We have so much information in our head that we don't even know, that we don't even want to make a choice now because we just don't know. We don't want to make the wrong choice, or we don't know what choice to make. However, I do have to disagree with you that I rather have too much information than no information. And I guess it really speaks on everybody differently, but I rather have too much information because then I can take all the information and make my own decision.
And that is very fair because you as a male, I think, have more of a capability of doing that. Whereas me, in my mind, I'm like, man, ignorance is bliss sometimes. I wish I did not. I wish I could think like you, because as a woman, as someone who's so emotionally connected with a baby and just always having all of these fears and doubts, we literally had that happen with our newborn little munchkin because we had that umbilical cord issue, right? And in my mind, it's like, what's the right answer? If we go this way, it could lead to this. If we go this way, it could lead to this. Which is better? And you're constantly weighing all these options, right? So as a woman, it could just be a woman versus a male type of mentality. But for me, it's almost too much where I wish I could just be like, it's all I knew. But then again, that comes with its own deterrence as well. So it's just very hard, I would say, as a millennial, being so confused and under so much pressure. And then also the pressure of our parents being like, you're too soft. Your kids are running amok. This is chaos everywhere I look. And it's like, this is a lived-in home. My kids are happy. They're playing. Sorry that there's toys on the floor. I just think that that's a huge thing as well that our Gen Xers are seeing.
Yeah, and I agree with that. We are just running such a different show than they were. Back in the day, most moms would keep their house clean, they would cook all the meals and raise their kids all at the same time. And that's pride to them, right? That's how they identify themselves as a good mom, is all that. But our generation now is just so different. We let them make messes and we let them know that it's okay, Hey guys, just a little break from the video to let you know that at the end of the video, we're going to be asking ChatGPT on who do they think is the worst parenting generation. So you're going to want to stick around for that. Also, if you want to receive newsletters about parenting and parenting growth, you can go to their website, www.rawparentingpodcast.com, and back to the video.
Yeah, making a mess is okay as long as you clean up, right?
And that's the thing. As long as you clean, it's all fine.
And again, the trouble is finding out like the balance, right? Because our parents didn't have a balance. It was strictly fear, so you behave, right? And for us, it's like, okay, well, we don't want them to be fearful of us. We want them to be emotionally available for them. But what does that lead? Because we don't have any examples, and that's our problem, in my mind. We have no examples. We're doing this all alone. We have no village anymore. And so that's why I say, I think we are leading towards that worst parent generation because we are so confused and we have no guidance.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the next topic a little bit here. Screen time. Gen X and baby boomers think that we are just iPad kids. Our kids consume way too much screen time, which I agree. I think we are consuming more screen time than we've ever have in the past. But I feel like that's an unfair criticism because we were raised on TV as well.
Yes. I mean, there's also that goes hand in hand, screen time and overstimulation, right? And you are correct. We just had the TV, which was one still thing that could not move with you. And we have, the iPads, the iPhone, like kids at the age of 5 are getting iPhones. Wild. So it's an easy way for millennials to silence their child so that they can get things done.
Okay.
Another reason to support my yes is social media parenting. Again, we have no guidance, so we look to social media and what other parent influencers are telling us to do.
Yeah, my favorite is that cranky old lady mom that I always love, that I don't think that you like her too much, but she's very much like, if a kid acts out, you let them act out and you file your nail.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. That's just my favorite.
Yeah.
I would have to disagree with you because I feel like I've learned so much stuff through social media. And again, like for me, I take in stuff and I decipher in my own head, right? It's like, okay, does this actually make sense? Is this logical? And then I implement it. And so I feel like for me, social media is a great blessing for me. I learned so much about parenting, about just everything else, just little tidbits of information. And I take it all and I think about what is right, what's wrong. Should I do this? Should I not do this? And for me, it's been great.
Right. And I guess as well, it's an intuition, right? Or lack thereof. And I feel like me personally, I don't know what my intuition tells me a lot of the time anymore because I'm being strung in so many different directions. And again, that's just personality based. That's how we grew up in different situations. That's all leading back to a whole other aspect of why we are the way we are. But in my mind, it's more of a potential issue because you have the logic to think about stuff like that. But I personally don't always. And I'm sure a lot of other millennials don't either.
And I think the other thing that we constantly have to deal with and battle with is, are we being too gentle, right? And I feel like, sometimes we ask ourselves that question, are we being pushed over by these kids? And so, there are some days when we have to reel it back, we have to show them that authority. And so, yeah, I feel like it's a juggling act.
Yes.
Being parents.
And again, taking that gentle parenting phrase too far, as I said earlier, right? Because we don't understand what that actually means. And it's a balance between all of these things, right? It's not just be as soft as you can and just wait for them to, do their disaster and then you're there for them. Like that's not what it was intended for, but that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And again, it's that overcompensation that I was talking about.
Yeah. So overall, I think that most of the millennials are doing a great job. I think that we are overcompensating, but that's okay. Like I'd rather be too close to my kids than be a distance away. And I hope that, with our millennial kids, with the Gen Alpha, I hope that they are emotionally mature, which is great because you need that to survive in the world. I hope that they're close to us yeah, if it means that they're too soft, then, well, at least they're emotionally mature.
So again, my answer was yes, which was a hesitant yes, because I do agree with a lot of the points that you have. However, we also just don't know how to parent. Not by our own fault, but yeah, we were just never guided. And so we're taking things too far under a lot of pressure. We also don't even know what it means. And when I say we don't know what it means to be a parent, I mean, we have all of our priorities in the wrong orders. I mean, a lot of parents now are weekend parents. They're parents that are more career driven than actually involving their time with their child. And I think we've lost a lot of those connections and those meanings. And so again, that's my hesitant yes.
All right, guys. So now I'm going to be entering into ChatGPT and ask them, who do they think is the worst parents of all generations? Is it the baby boomers, Gen X, or is it us, the Gen Y, millennials? All right, let's see what it says. All right. Okay, let's see. Okay, well, there you have it.
If you guys enjoyed this video at all, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new here. We would also love to know what you guys think about millennials and whether you agree with Tom or you agree with me. Let us know.